Good morning. I'm Tanya Disbrow, 2020 Chair for CCAR's Plano Business Development Meeting Committee. Before we get started, I'd like to thank members of my committee for shifting gears from having this meeting online through Zoom rather than our traditional in-person meeting in the wake of COVID-19. They are Vice Chair Catherine Pearsall and committee members Mary Nelson, Charlie Clark, Diane Donnelly, and Ron Leach. These individuals help us plan which speakers to bring and which topics to explore. I would also like to thank our platinum advertisers, Chicago Title and Academy Mortgage. And lastly, I would like to thank our staff liaison, Moji. Please note that during this webinar, you will not be able to chime in to ask questions. Instead, if you have any questions, please wait until the end of each session. Locate the Q&A button on your panel. Click it to submit any questions you have for our guest presenter, John Holley. We will try to get as many questions answered in the time allotted. If you are disconnected from the webinar, please rejoin with the link in your email. There is a maximum capacity of 500, so if you are unable to rejoin, that capacity has been reached. We hope to have this session available to our members, so please check our social media accounts for that notification. It is now my privilege to introduce our guest presenter. John Holley has been the Chief Executive Officer for the North Texas Real Estate Information Systems, or as we know it, NTREIS, since August 2005. NTREIS is a decentralized regional MLS owned in equity by 14 realtor associations in North Texas. NTREIS has over 40,000 real estate professionals and covers approximately 48 counties in the Metroplex. The Dallas-Fort Worth MSA is the fourth largest MSA by population in the country. Prior to joining NTREIS, John served as President and CEO of Sandacor Regional MLS in San Diego County. Sandacor is also a Realtor Association owned regional MLS. John hails from the College of Business Administration of San Diego State University. He's married with 2 grown girls, 2 golden retrievers, and 1 husky. On the weekends, John can usually be found relaxing on Cedar Creek Lake, just east of the Metroplex. Thank you, John, for being with us today, and I will turn this over to you.
The agent is not allowed to go on the property, makes things even more difficult. The next thing is that virtual open house that I just mentioned. Now, a lot of vendors are in a rush right now to capitalize on the COVID-19. It's our job at NTREIS to make sure that—
John, we lost your sound.
Uh-oh, what happened? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, good. I don't know what happened. Anyway, so the virtual open house has been created under the open house input section. Now, in Matrix, if you do this, you have to have, someone has to have created this.
It's just me.
Uh-oh. I didn't touch anything. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Then the virtual open house in Matrix, you have to have already had a virtual open house created by a company, and then you can put that URL in and we will link to it. Now, I know this is a little dangerous because we have a lot of control over the URLs. As you all know, by virtual tours, you have to be an approved virtual tour vendor that is doing a sanitized tour. In other words, there's no branding. This is a little wide open, so we're going to worry about the URL links as we go through our associations that help us. Believe me, we have 40,000 tattletales out there. That's not a problem to find out when there's a problem, and we'll get it fixed. Anyway, and then the next one is Remine is a company that we're doing business with, as you probably already know, and they've created a virtual open house module as well. It was actually released yesterday. Now, the difference here is that, and there's no additional charge for this. They have a bad rap on that. They also have the ability for you to go in with your mobile device and actually create the virtual tour, and they will stream it, meaning you could create this and do it on your own, with no additional charge. Now, you are limited to about 30 minutes because streaming costs money, but they will do it for you. Or if you are using, let's say, Facebook to do a virtual tour, then you can also utilize that within Remind. Training will be coming out on this next week, I'm assuming. It's been released, but we need to get the training out so everybody understands how specifically how this works. So we're going to get localized training online. It's going to be announced through our AE News that comes out every Friday to all of the associations, board of directors, and everybody, and they disseminate that information out to the individual agents. You can go on to the next slide if you like. You may already know this, but Texas Realtors, aka Texas Association of Realtors, has created some addendums for with specifically related to COVID-19. We've already have these available in both Instinet and zip forms. One, it's in the library. One is an addendum that was created by Texas Realtors to extend the closing date due to COVID-19. The second one is a lease payment plan for a renter, or if you have a renter in an investment property, there is a lease payment plan available that all parties sign on to, and that's available both in Instinet as well as zip forms. These were created by the state association. I understand there's a new one also that deals with commercial. That came out after I did this slide. So go ahead and advance to the next one, Moji. So now let's talk about, well, let me ask you, are there any questions with regard to COVID-19? Anybody want to submit any questions before we go to the next topic? Okay, I can't hear you, Tanya.
I'm back on now. Thank you.
There we go. Are there any questions, Tanya, that I need to address?
Let me check.
Okay.
Okay, first one we have is there a search on MLS for virtual open? It says open. I'm not certain what they mean by that.
Oh, like a virtual open house?
It says virtual open. I'm assuming they mean open house.
Yeah. Well, that's under the open house module, and to be honest, it's so new, I don't know if it's a searchable field, but I would assume it is, because all of our fields are searchable except for very few. So I would say you could add that to your search parameter under custom and then search on it.
Okay. Next question is there a form for showing shows?
Is there a form for showing
shows?
Showing shows. I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah, I don't understand that either.
Or showing shows. I'm not sure I understand what they're asking there. Maybe they could try again.
Okay, then the next one is there a search for MLS for virtual open houses?
Under open house, you would go there and search that field that's been added. It was just added, so I haven't tried this yet, but I would assume that it would be a searchable field as well. What you would do is you would do your search and you would add that as a field that you would like to search upon. It's just like you would anything else. When you do a search, we give you a certain number of fields, quite a few as a matter of fact, and then if you want to add more, you go to the bottom left side, I believe, and you can click to add additional. You get a little pop-up box, and it's got pretty much all the forms are listed there, and you find what you want, move it over, it becomes a custom, and you can use that to further refine your search.
So they're saying is I do not see a virtual open house tour drop down in MLS when I go to schedule an open house. It only shows broker, public, and live open house.
So it's live. I'm sorry. That is another term that is used. Live open house.
Okay, got it. Okay.
It's brand new too, so forgive me.
There is a new form certification for property access. How does one how does one search areas of COVID-19?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know how to do that. Be honest with you, that's beyond me. I don't know how to search specifically COVID-19 properties. I don't know how to answer that. I'm sorry.
Okay, I don't even know if that would be is it an option? Would it be? I mean, I wouldn't think so.
I wouldn't think so. I mean,
okay.
This COVID-19 thing is pretty serious about, well, under the HIPAA laws, you're not allowed to, they don't disclose individuals. For example, very early on in this, we had an issue come up where two agents in a very large office, I won't give you the name, but you would recognize it, and they were tested positive, and they showed properties, both of them. The broker was able to give me a complete list of the address of the properties that they showed. And we needed to do we need to inform those listing agents of those properties that someone who tested positive, had been in your property. But we can't mention any names. This was something that the broker could have done themselves, but then they would be disclosing who they are, and they don't want to do that, and under HIPAA, they don't have to. So we stepped in as the regional, and we did the notification on their behalf of, it was a very long list. And so we did that notification as NTREIS on behalf of this brokerage that needed to disclose this information to those listing agents, and those listing agents should now be informing their seller that this is something that has gone on. You know, it's just all about disclosure, but we don't mention names. Go ahead. Okay.
Someone's asking if there are showings allowed in the Dallas County now.
I believe you can do a showing, but I don't think you can do an open house. Dallas is different than Collin, yes. It's county by county in Texas.
Okay. Okay, we do, let's see what else. Two slides. Okay.
Hard to keep up with this.
I know. Where can you find the modules like the one you're referring to in the virtual open?
The modules?
Well, they're one you're referencing for the virtual open.
Yeah, one is under open house and showing. Those two. Depends on what you're looking for.
Okay, is there a form we need to fill out for property access for showings now, like certificate for property access?
No, not that I don't have a form for that, no.
Okay. The COVID-19 addendum, is the COVID-19 addendum closing extension available from both the buyers and the sellers? And is there any terms that must be met to use the extension?
You need to look at what they say on Texas Realtors and go in as your, with your credentials, and the information is there. It is under texasrealtors.com/ I think Canova COVID-19, I believe.
Okay.
And the forms are there, and they're ready for you to download. Go ahead.
Okay. You mentioned virtual tour vendors. Can you explain these vendors?
Well, first of all, I don't have a list of vendors yet that are coming out and doing these live tours for you. There are some out there. I just don't know who they all are. But then Remind is going to give you the ability to do it yourself if you want. And then by next week, what we're going to do, since some states are more locked down than others, your seller will be able to actually create the tour with their own iPhone, and that can be used as a live open, if you will, open house. Virtual tours are pretty much available everywhere. I mean, even in Matrix, when you add a listing, a company we do business with creates more or less a virtual tour of the property for you, and it's there in media.
Okay. Someone did put on here, which is helpful, the website to go to regarding the Dallas shelter. It's www.mymetrotex.com/shelter/. So a lot of you can go to there and see what is what the rules are or what's set in place at this time.
And the COVID-19 stuff is all new and it changes every day. It's different in Collin than it is in Dallas than it is in Tarrant. So it's very hard to keep up with.
Yep. Okay, and that's pretty much it right now. That's
all
the
right.
questions for now. Oh, as many as we could get to, let's put it that way.
Let's move on to the big one.
Okay,
Clear cooperation. It's going to go into effect on May the 1st. This was a new policy established and voted and passed by the National Association of Realtors. As you all know, NTREIS is an NAR sanctioned, if you will, regional MLS. In other words, we abide by their policies. We send them these rule changes. When we do one, they say you're in compliance, and that covers our errors and omissions insurance and other things, benefits that we receive from NAR. So we're an NAR sanctioned multiple listing. Not every MLS in the country is. Some are privately owned or they are outside of that, but we are not. We are, with the majority of them, are NAR sanctioned. We put together our governance task force, and they met, and they provided recommendations to the NTREIS Board of Directors at their April 15th meeting, which was yesterday, and everything passed. So we'll plan on an educational period to begin, and then we will start doing this education period, and sanctions don't have to start until January of next year. It could start sooner, depending upon the MLS provider and or association, how they want to implement the policies. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so the clear cooperation policy, if you haven't already read it, most people have, if it's not new, but it says within one business day of marketing a property to the public. And I underline that because the key thing in clear cooperation is to the public marketing. The listing broker must submit the listing to the MLS for cooperation with other MLS participants. Public marketing includes, but is not limited to, flyers displayed in windows, yard signs, digital marketing on public-facing websites, brokerage websites including IDX and VAL, digital communications marketing like an email blast, or multi-brokerage listing sharing networks, if you will. Those are private networks. That's a tough one. And applications that are available to the general public. Go on to the next slide. We're going to get more detail. Now, note that the exclusive listing has not gone away, but here's the rub. You can still take an office exclusive, but by definition, the office exclusive is only available to be marketed by the listing agent throughout that brokerage. So if I'm an agent, say with Ebby Holiday Realtors, and I take an office exclusive, the advertising of that is exclusive through your office or combination of offices, because Ebby is a very large company. If you start advertising that to the public, whether that be a yard sign, an email blast, or whatever, then you've got to place it in the MLS. So it's not public marketing as long as you're holding it within your own company and doing one-on-one with clients even, that's okay. And it doesn't have to go in because you've taken an exclusive. But the idea of taking an exclusive and then putting it out on a publicly accessible website to advertise, no. That's what the whole clear cooperation policy is trying to reduce and eliminate the quote pocket listings that are advertised publicly, but not available for cooperation. And what's behind this is that real estate professionals were out on the road or working with clients, and a property may have a for sale sign or whatever, and your client asks about it, you go in the MLS and there's nothing there. And so you look like an idiot because you don't have any information on this, but it is obviously for sale. So the whole point with the cooperation is if it is for sale, you need to have information on the property, at least to provide to your client. Go on to the next slide, please. Also, remember that, cooperation and compensation are two different things. So cooperating, it just says you're delivering this information. So if it's an exempt listing and your seller does not want to disseminate it in the service, then you can take that off as exclusive. But you need to file it with the service. We're not going to disseminate. A great way to do that is to create an incomplete listing. See, an incomplete listing is only visible to you and your broker. So you have filed it. And you have a form that you can fill out. We don't have a designated form for it, but that can be sent to your MLS provider to have on file. We used to refer to it as an excuse form. So this section isn't required if the service does not require this particular property type to be submitted. In other words, if it's a commercial property, it's not subject to clear cooperation. The next slide is going to show you what is. So if you have an exempt listing and you start doing public marketing, for sale sign, email blast, or whatever, then you have to put this in the MLS within 1 business day. Go to the next slide, please. So here's what mandatory submission is all about. Our MLS is what we call a mandatory submission. When you join, you're saying that you're going to submit your listings based on what it says in our rules and regs across the board for all participants of NTREIS. So the following property types have to be submitted within 72 hours. Now, notice there is a difference here. You have 72 hours to submit a listing. That's the way it's been all along. But if you have a listing and you start putting out a yard site and doing any public marketing, you only have until the next business day to get that loaded into the system. And I'm going to tell you different angles here in a minute. So if you have a residential single family, that could be a condo, a half a duplex, single family home, a townhouse, farm and ranch. That's subject to mandatory submission, 72 hours or 1 business day if you market publicly. The second is vacant residential farm and ranch lots and acreage. That's also subject to mandatory submission. Multifamily dwellings, a 1 to 4 family apartment building, if you will, that's subject to mandatory submission. Notice I didn't say commercial. Next slide. So if a participant fails to comply with the clear cooperation requirements and there is a complaint filed, then the MLS provider, Collin County, Metro Tex, whatever it is, has the ability to fine you. Minimum $1,000 and not to exceed $5,000 per property cited for the violation. And I know that's steep, but the point is we want clear cooperation so that real estate professionals know what's happening out in their market areas. If you want to report a violation, you need to provide your MLS provider the property address, the listing agent, listing company name, and a documentation like snap a photo. That's usually the best thing to do. An image of what was being marketed to the public. If it's a yard sign or something you see on Facebook or something like that, you need to have a copy of it so that you've got the smoking gun, so to speak, in legal terms. Go ahead to the next slide. Okay, we're going on to the next section. So mainly there's going to be a period here where there's going to be education to, shall we say, violators of the policy to bring them into compliance and show them what they can do, not what they can't do necessarily. And the associations or MLS providers are the ones that do the rules enforcement. So they've got a lot of leeway in doing this education process to just make sure that everybody's in compliance and it's working for everyone. The only thing I missed on here that I should have had was coming soon. Coming soon has now been extended to 30 days. It used to be 14. It will be extended to 30 days once everything is approved, so that if you load a listing in coming soon, you can have a yard sign, you can advertise it as coming soon. It will be in the MLS for other participants to see that it is coming soon. That information is there that is required for a coming soon listing, same as it is now. But we've extended that to 30 days from 14. That was what the committee wants. Some of the MLSs in the country are doing 60 days. I threw that out there and I thought I kicked somebody's dog. They thought 30 days was plenty. So for 30 days, you can have a coming soon listing. Now, does it have to be 30 days? No. I could put a listing in as coming soon, and if we're ready to go active with the client in 10 days, then I just change it to active. If I don't touch that listing for 30 days, then it's going to go to temporarily off market automatically. So are there any other questions on this? Tanya? I think she's on mute again. Emoji's off.
Okay, so I can ask some. Can you guys hear me? Okay, Tanya, you got it?
Tanya came off of mute.
Okay, so the first one is a comment. It's not a question. It says in Texas, we are not testing unless showing symptoms. You can do showings in Dallas County. Please follow the rules released for realtors by Clay Jenkins' office. If you do not follow the rule, there is a $1,000 fine or jail time. It's important to review this order from Jenkins' office. We are in shelter place until the end of the month. Someone asked a question, John, about the difference between the virtual tour and a virtual open house. So can you explain the difference?
A virtual tour is just like we have now. It's part of media. A client can click on it and get a virtual tour of the property. Very popular. A virtual open house, okay. We all know that an open house in today's day and age, you have an open house sign in the yard, you put up signs around the neighborhood, you may have put it in a newspaper or some kind of electronic marketing, and clients, potential clients I should say, come to the open house and sign your guest book, etc. A virtual open house is a little different. It's only available if you have a client that wants to do a virtual tour, and you can do it live. In other words, you can be on your end actually speaking to them, and they're on their end, and you're touring the house. It's done quite a bit differently. So if a virtual open house means that the listing agent has gone into the house and created a live, if you will, open, and they've walked through the house and they're speaking. And so then that can be transferred over to Facebook. Let's say you have a client, it's available, you're on you are connected together, and there is the tour, and you are speaking with them at the same time. Does this make sense? A little complicated. It's brand new, but that's what everybody is running to now.
So we have a question. Under the clear cooperation, can an agent list the property on Zillow but not on the MLS?
No, because that would be considered marketing to the public. Then you would have to have, you had 24 hours to put that listing into the MLS. That is something that is trying to be stopped. And remember, I said cooperation isn't the same as compensation. We don't control compensation. It could be $1, don't know. Okay.
So someone wants clarification. This is Julie. She said, if I put a sign on the yard on May 1st, it needs to be MLS May 2nd?
Yes.
Okay. And Tracy wants to know if coming soon days counts towards the DOM or CDOM.
No.
Okay.
No, as existing now, days on market is not accumulated during coming soon. It doesn't accumulate days on market until it's available for showing. So no, it's just still coming soon. Days on market does not accumulate then. Days on market does not accumulate if it's temporarily off market either, which is different than some other MLSs. We don't accumulate that.
Steve wants to know, are you required to provide access to the property when coming soon?
No, you're not required to provide access. In fact, when you're in the coming soon, you're not allowed to have showings.
Okay. Amanda wants
and
to
it's not.
Oh, sorry. Sorry,
No, go ahead.
Okay. Amanda wants to know, what if the violation occurs in the area serviced by one association, but the realtor is a primary member of a different association? Can the association where the violation occurs fine, or does it have to be the association where the primary membership is?
It's going to be the association where the property is. So if the property is listed within the jurisdiction of the North Texas Regional, then it is subject to the rules and regulations of North Texas. Unless if it's listed in NTREIS, it's subject to the rules of NTREIS, even if the agent is from outside, but still has a secondary membership with Collin County, let's say, and they make a violation. Collin County has jurisdiction over that because that member is technically a member, even though it's secondary. Does that make sense? Hope I answered the question.
You have. Now, there are some people, they have multiple questions, and it all relates to 30 days. So they want to know when the coming soon changed to 30 days. Also, can you put a yard sign in the yard during the 30-day coming soon period?
Sure. Like I was saying before, if you take a coming soon listings and you have the signatures and everything, you can put a yard sign in, but you got to load it into the MLS as coming soon. So anybody that drives by or whatever can see it's coming soon, and they can look it up and get the details of the listing. It's not available for showing yet, but you have information for your client. 30 days was controversial. That went around quite a bit with all the different opinions. But at the end, it was settled that going to make it 30 days. It doesn't have to be 30 days, just same as now, but 30 days is the maximum time you can be in coming soon.
Someone had a question. Amy wanted to know, do these clear cooperation rules apply to residential rentals or just sale listings?
It does not apply to rentals. So if you put it into the rental database, that's not part of the mandatory submission. So it is not applied under clear cooperation. What was the second half of that?
Oh, that was it.
Oh, okay. I thought you had some more on that.
And Wendy wants to know, where do we submit a complaint when an agent is not adhering to the MLS rules regarding coming soon or for sale signs in the yard?
Submit the claim. That if you have an alleged violation that you would like to report, you would do that to the MLS provider to which you pay your bill to. If you receive your MLS through Collin County Association, then you would submit that complaint through Collin County, and they will handle it.
Okay. We have Deborah. She wants to know, do you need permission to do a live video in a listing that is not yours?
Boy, you're asking tough questions. A live video in a listing that's not yours.
Correct.
I would say you would want permission, just like we do in the MLS for, do you have permission to video the property when you see it? And we have that yes/no field on the lower right-hand corner of the detail form. So I would say that you would want permission to do that, yes.
So we had a question from Teresa. She wants to know, when does coming soon change to 30 days? Do we have a date when this policy is active?
We had just got approval yesterday by the board of directors to submit these. We have submitted these to our attorney he will be transmitting our changes to the NAR to receive our stamp of approval. Once the NAR approves them, then we will create new policy and we will put it out so everybody knows. Usually I publish a summary of changes and new rules will be on our website, and we'll make sure that everybody has them. So I would imagine with this, it'll be May 1st. I don't think NAR is going to take that long.
So we have a question from Janet. She wants to know if you can please elaborate on your comments regarding not showing during the coming soon period. She said, I would think this is a much violated situation. Also, is it correct that showings by office associates is permissible?
Well, the first half of that about not showing, the rules state that if a property is listed in coming soon, it means it's not available for showing. Does that rule get violated? Probably. Does a property close sometimes while it's in coming soon? Yes. Is that finable? No. We just know it's going to happen. The intention of coming soon is not for double ending deals or providing any kind of advantage. It's all about properties that aren't ready to be shown yet because there may be work, painting, carpeting, whatever that needs to be done, but the property is going to be listed on such and such a date. That's the intention of coming soon. Does it get violated? Probably. Is it always reported? No, but that's the truth. That's the intent behind it. What was the second half of that?
She asked about associates, if they're permissible.
Associates, are they permissible to show?
I believe so.
Yeah, nothing has changed on that with regards to our current rules and regulations. I think, yeah, you're testing me here. I don't think you're supposed to show unless you have a license. Isn't that correct? I don't remember. Nothing has changed with regard to that. It's the same as it's always been. I think that properties do get shown by associates. Whether or not they're members of the MLS and Board of Realtors, I don't know.
So we have a question. It says, can coming soon be shared within an office, but not put in the MLS?
If you have a coming soon, then you need to share it with the MLS. If you have an office exclusive, you share that within your office.
So will coming soon be syndicated to various sites, Zillow, et cetera, now?
No. Coming soon listings are not syndicated. Never have been. They're not part of the feed.
If my listing says coming soon, but an agent really wants to show it to their buyer, can they still go see it?
That would be an agreement made between the listing agent and the cooperating agent, and we know that that happens. It's not supposed to happen, but we know that it does.
What is the penalty if a coming soon home mysteriously disappears, which means that it was probably sold off market?
Mm-hmm. We don't have a penalty for that. It's very hard to prove. And so we know that it happens, and we know that we don't, I can't speak for all the associations, but I don't believe there's a penalty involved with that. We know it happens. When we originally did coming soon, probably more than a year ago now, we know what happens in the field, so there isn't teeth in there to fine for something we know that goes on, but very difficult to prove.
So Cassandra wants to know, you mentioned Remind. Will RPR have the information as well?
RPR gets a full feed from us. I don't know, you know, they're not Remind, they're different. So RPR gets a full feed of all of our listings, including off market, to run the RPR count.
So someone wants to ask about virtual open homes. So they want to know, if you go to the property with every client and do it live, can you do it live from there? Or can it be recorded and sent the link to new clients?
I believe it can be recorded. In today's technology, that can be done.
Another question is, can you host an open house via a live tour, like Facebook Live or a similar format? So I
Yes.
think you're asking for the different formats that you can do the live tours.
I don't know all of them. I'm not as plugged in as our real estate professionals, so I do know that Facebook Live you can do, and we're going to provide one through Remind that you can do. And I'm sure that there's, what is it, Google something, I forget what it's called. And there are different formats that you can use. We don't mind which one you want to use. You just need to put in the URL under that live tour, and then it'll be there. And a lot of people will use Facebook. Facebook Live is very popular.
Mary wants to know, can an agent post a personal rental for lease on Zillow and not MLS?
I don't think so. I don't think Zillow accepts it. I don't know.
So if you are in coming soon mode, and this is from Kim, for that 30-day period, are you allowed to advertise that in all types of public forums?
Well, it's not syndicated, so it isn't going to go to Zillow, and it isn't going to go to homes.com. It's not going to go to realtor.com. It's just internally coming soon through the multiple listing service. You've got a sign in the yard, public advertising that it's coming soon. So if you want to do additional on your own, it's okay, as long as it's following the rules. It's coming soon. It's not available for showing. It's coming soon.
So Rachel has a question that piggybacks on that. So when you have when you're in the coming soon status and you're on realtor.com or Zillow or wherever,
you won't be.
So you won't be.
Mm-mm.
Well, if
you're in the coming soon status, you're not going to get syndicated to realtor.com. You're not going to be syndicated to Zillow or anybody from us. And I know that Zillow won't accept a listing from a real estate professional directly. It has to be coming through the MLS. They changed that several years ago in May. They'll still take a for sale by the owner themselves, but not through a brokerage representative, because the listing is being represented by brokerage, so they rely upon the MLS to get that feed. Okay. If they are partnered with them.
So I see a question here, it says, or a statement says, to keep agents from showing a property during coming soon, don't put a key box on the property and tell the showing service no showings until such and such a date, which I have seen. Yeah, but I have seen coming soons with lock boxes on them, but.
I know.
Yeah.
So can we keep one question? Because I know we have plenty of other topics to go on. So Tanya, do you want to ask a question?
All right.
I think we really need to move on to the next section because we're running out of time. Okay. So.
And I'm not pretending that I'm an expert on clear cooperation. We haven't implemented it yet. And there are more what if questions than you can just shake a stick at. I went to a meeting of representatives of MLSs from all over the state. We all met in Austin, and we spent 4 hours on what if. Mm-hmm. Not so much on the clear cooperation policy itself, but more on, well, what about this, and what if this, and what if that? It's really time consuming. And I'm not saying that it isn't going to roll out perfect. This is my opinion personally as John Holley. There's going to be tweaking that's going to happen down the road on this based on the what ifs that happen.
Absolutely.
We don't know all of them. Go ahead. Want to move on?
Yes, let's move on to the next section. Thank you.
All right. Okay, we're going to.
Real quick, can we do the questions at the very end? So those people that want to be, that want to get all the information in case they have an appointment to go to, they can stick around for the end for the questions?
Absolutely. Let's do that.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks.
Are we ready?
Yes.
Okay. Another project that we're working on at NTREIS is an alternative listing input product. We're working with Remine because they've already developed this. And so at this point and stage, this is one of the projects that's moving slower than I would like due to this COVID-19 stuff and working virtually. But if I use the term metadata, I don't know if you all know what I'm talking about. Metadata is simply defined as it's data about data. In other words, if you have a field for zip code, the metadata would say that's a numeric field. Or it defines what's inside the field, the payload as we call it. And so our business rules, and that's an ugly term to use, business rules basically say if you're putting in a zip code inside the United States and you put in a letter, an alpha letter, it's going to honk and say that's incorrect. That's a business rule. All we're trying to do is help you input the data correctly based upon what is allowed. So right now we're in the early stages of working with all of these business rules that are necessary in the metadata with Remine to create the product. So we're not in testing yet, if you know what I mean. So the input module will work across all devices, your phone, your tablet, your PC, whatever you've got. It is what we call adaptive design programming. It knows what your screen is, whether you're on a phone, a tablet, or a 17-inch monitor. It knows how to format this for you and make it look nice and flow easily. Many brokers have a back office system. The broker back office feed is one of the most popular feeds that we provide, and we don't charge brokers for a broker back office feed. They just apply for it, we turn it on, and they can have access to all the data that they could have through the front door in their back office system. For example, every holiday for years and years, and they still do, they have a back office system, and they used to have the ability to upload a listing. They used to upload about 18,000 residential listings per year till we went to Matrix and things changed. So now, with this new one, this new listing input, if you have a broker back office system, I don't know if that's me. There it goes. And you can use your broker back office system to upload a listing. A lot of the big offices are going to like that. They'll be able to plug into it. Nice. So the other beauty is that with this particular product, the current Matrix listing input system will coexist. So you have a choice. You can list it through Matrix, or you could list it through this other system, which is works very well across all of these different devices. And so it's just going to be a nice, convenient, and it kind of gives you a front end of choice, if you will. You've got the front end of Matrix to load, or you've got the front end of this new Remine product to load. Either way, it's all going to go in the same database. You're going to get a listing number back, and it's there, it's searchable, it's front end of choice. Okay, I see there's a message from Moji. Okay, I'm ready for the next slide. Here we go. You probably have already noticed that there's a new realist that's been released, and one of the things that they did that I've been fighting with them for years is that it got rid of Flash. No more Flash. Flash is going away at the end of this year anyway. Even on Google Chrome, they've got a warning that December 31st of this year, it's not supported at all. So Realist doesn't use Flash anymore. Side note, like the National Weather Service out of Fort Worth, if you look at their products that they have, one of which is a radar, an active radar, uses Flash. The gaming industry uses Flash. It's really interesting, but we need to get rid of it. And one of the things that we're doing now, I don't know if it's done yet or not. I can't remember. Like I said, I'm not in the office, but we're doing some optimizing to the new Realist product, because you never know until you release it in the wild with thousands of people hammering on it, that it was loading things rather slowly when it came to photos. So we're going back and with CoreLogic, and we're doing some optimizing so that things will load faster. Like I said, you get a product out in the wild, that's when you find out if you've got any mistakes or things that need to be tweaked. So go ahead to the next slide. One of the things that Collin County had put down was a Matrix version 9.0, and I hate to say this, but there really isn't a 9.0 version of Matrix, at least not that I'm aware of. But we're currently on 8.3.13 and keep going up. Now, if you want to learn something here, number 8 in the beginning is a huge major update. Okay, so if we went to 8 to 9, you'd be looking at downtime. It's a major update. The 3 in the middle is a minor update to the product. Usually requires no downtime, or if it does, it's in the middle of the night. And then the .13 is like a micro update. Maybe the users committee wants to add a new field or add something to a pick list or whatever, and we make a change to the code, we would go to 14. There's no downtime or anything. We keep track of this so we know what version we're on. So at the end of June, it was, well, as of yesterday, was supposed to be our annual user group meeting with regard to Matrix. And perhaps at that point, a 9.0 will be disclosed to us as they would normally do. However, they've just postponed that meeting because with the COVID-19, they're not sure that even at the end of June, if anybody's going to want to travel yet. So they're going to try to pick a new date. One of the things that is happening with CoreLogic and Matrix, if I say UI and UX, that's user interface and user experience. It's old. I mean, let's face it, it is not 21st century at all. It's fill in the blanks and hit search. So the UX and UI, every time there is an enhancement made, that would be the center number, the 8.3, if it went to 8.4, there will be improvements made on the user interface and user experience from the Matrix side. We've already seen some of this stuff. It's very minor. Like they made the tabs bigger so that they were easier to find and click on. They have a group of people at CoreLogic now that rather than being involved specifically in things like MLS, these are designers that are involved with workflow. How many clicks does it take to get from A to B? They design logically for whether it be consumers shopping on Home Depot or shopping on Amazon, or in this case, using Matrix. So they're working on upgrading the UX UI, but we don't want to go too fast because that would just confuse everybody. So these are minor, step-by-step, making improvements on how it works. Next slide. The other project that we're working on this year is a redesign of NTREIS.net. I'm sure you go there. One of the things about NTREIS.net that was created years ago is that it used blue and red. Well, blue and red don't work together very well if you're colorblind, so it's not ADA compliant. So we're going to design a website that is ADA compliant, and we're going to integrate our Salesforce package into it, which is going to be very handy for the associations that want access to, you know, a knowledge base, for example, will be included. All of this is being redesigned so that the flow is better, you can find things better, things are larger to click on. Some of that small print to click on is really difficult, even for me. The other thing we're doing is we're integrating the single sign-on dashboard with executive resources. So when you sign in, the SSO dashboard knows who you are, knows what your position is. I mean, this is all in the database, so we utilize it. So if you are on the board of directors, for example, you sign up in the right-hand corner, you have executive resources. If you click on it, it's going to give you a list of everything that's available to you under your credentials for the company of NTREIS. So it's going to be a better way to communicate. Why? We want to make it easier, just give you one set of credentials that you're using, and that will not only give you everything you need from NTREIS.net, to perform your functions as a director or a committee member, but also the same access to Remind, Matrix, whatever. We just moved this onto a new platform actually yesterday or the day before, and you'll see some minor changes, and it opens up from the back end our ability to further design the things that I just talked about. We'll go on to the next slide.
That's it?
Cool. That's it. Okay. Well, let's see how I do time-wise. Right on the dot, 10 o'clock. Wow. Any more questions we want to take at the end?
Yeah, let's go ahead and look at some of the questions. Let me open it up.
Rats.
What is the benefit of the alternative listing input?
The alternative listing input has benefits because it works across all devices and it reformats itself for the device that you're on. And it'll be available to brokers to plug in if they have a back office system. There's a lot of demand for that. And it's mobile. I mean, you can walk through the house with this and start inputting the listing. It's nice. So those are advantages of it, and it gives you kind of a front end of choice.
Okay. Another one is, if Zillow pulls from MLS, and how do they show old listings as active on their website?
Well, they wouldn't be receiving updated information, at least not from us. They may have a broker feed, which trumps our feed, actually. But if we were not providing the opt-in listings to them, then their database would go stale real fast when it comes to active.
Okay.
Right now, Zillow pulls from us about every 8 minutes. Just give me what changed in the last 8 minutes. So if you get a price reduction, let's say, boom, it's there. That's the point. It's as close to live as they can get. In fact, I think they've even shortened it to less than 8 minutes.
Oh, good. Okay, and then we have another one, John. We have amazing technology at our disposal. The loss of open houses and guest registration has had a significant impact. Any discussion on having the public maybe providing an email before viewing a virtual tour?
I don't have an answer for that. No, I would say that hasn't come up yet. That's the first.
Okay. Well, that looks to be like all the questions that we have. So there will be a recording of this webinar available. So please check our Facebook or Twitter accounts for the information. If you're interested in hearing more information about the MLS Statement 8.0 Clear Cooperation Policy, be sure to listen to CCAR's new podcast, Welcome to the Top, on April 27th. That session includes interviews with both Rodney Goncho, Director of Engagement at NAR, and John Holley, CEO of NTREIS. You can visit www.welcometothetop.com. For those of you attending the CARES Act for Small Business webinar today at 2, please check your email by 11 for the link. If you're not registered but want to attend, there's still room, so please register to ensure you receive the link. The guest speaker will be Karen Raymond, business advisor from the Collins Small Business Development Center. John, thank you again for this wonderful webinar and for joining us.
Well, you're welcome. Like I said, the Clear Cooperation is new. The gavel went down on it yesterday, so I probably don't have all the answers. In fact, probably nobody has all the answers yet, not even Rodney. So Rodney's a good friend of mine, and we work together. Also, the other Rodney, there's two of them, the RG. The other one is Renee Glacia, and I call him all the time. We always have questions about Clear Cooperation. This is huge, but in our opinion, at the regional, we think this only affects a very small percentage portion of listings. Most of this is going to be a non-event for 95% of our agents. It's only going to affect a small amount. And that's why we want to go through the education process. Don't go out with a heavy hammer. I know MLSs that charge $7,000 for the first violation. I'm going, wow. Those things are all up to the local associations. We're decentralized, regionalized, as you said when you introduced me. So it's about education. We want to show you what you can do to achieve your accomplishments, not say what you can't do.
Well, we did have one more question come in, if you don't mind if we ask it real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Would you please explain when and for what purpose one would use the COVID-19 form?
Well, there's two of them that have been, actually three of them now, from the state association. And if you have a property and you're having difficulty with closing the property due to COVID-19, then you have a form that everyone signs and they agree to the extension due to the situation.
Okay.
It just has to do with your closing.
Great. Okay, well, thank you again for joining us,
Mm-hmm.
and hope there weren't too many technical difficulties through all this, but everyone,
Not at all. We're fine.
yeah, we're getting used to this, aren't we? So everyone continue to be safe and have a great day. John, thank you again. Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.